We're here in the New Mills Conference Center in a gorgeous afternoon in Gatlinburg, and I'm here with our city manager, Cindy Ogle, and we're going to talk about several important things about Gatlinburg, and we're going to start out with the budget. Cindy?
Yes, sir. How are you today?
Good. How are you? Thanks for being with us again.
It is my pleasure to be here and to talk about several things that I hope will be of interest to people watching. Try to make this as interesting as we can. As you said, we have just, well, not just, it's been a few weeks now that the budget has been approved, the 0708 budget, which is this document here, a copy of which is available at City Hall, at the library, on our website. So I would want to encourage people that want to dig deeper, right. Because there's a whole lot of information, as you know, as Vice Mayor, there's a lot of information in this document, but it's a very important document. It's really the plan for the city for the fiscal year, and so we encourage the public to look at it as they desire and to be involved in the process. And just a couple of notes that I'm going to glance at here. Sure. The overall budget, appropriation, and revenue projection is right at $52 million. That figure varies, and it's really been pretty consistent the last several years as we have tried to be conservative with our expenditures as well as with the revenue estimates. So there's been not just a lot of variance in that number for probably the last 4 or 5 budgets. It generally varies when there are major capital projects. For example, a couple of budgets ago, building this building, doing this project, then obviously that added several millions of dollars to the capital project budget, which affects that number that I'm talking about. But anyway, this year's budget, which the budget cycle or budget begins July 1st of 07 and ends June 30, 2008, and that number again total is $52 million. I think, of course, what residents and businesses are also interested in is again, we very conservatively project revenues. Probably the average is only a 2 to 3% projected revenue increase in the major taxes of the city. It varies by each tax category, as again you well know. Mm-hmm. But basically 2 to 3%, trying to be conservative in that revenue estimate.
And just hope that income comes in more than our projections.
Absolutely, and we do, and I'm glad you interjected that. We do on a monthly basis track, of course, the revenues and the expenses, and that's an internal procedure that we do to try to not at the last minute realize that things are not coming in like they should. And of course, that's not rocket science. That's just something practical and smart that anybody does with their finances.
Well, I'd like to interject that as city manager, I feel you have very many strong points. I think this is one of your stronger points, is watching the budget and making sure that we don't overspend and making sure that we don't overproject. And then if it comes in less than that, then it's a disappointment. You have to scramble to make all sorts of changes.
Exactly. Of course, we also do the mid-fiscal year review in February usually, sometimes in January, but we sit with you all in a half day or a day session and look at where we are at the midpoint of the fiscal year. So we do try our very best to be about administering the budget, but again, that's what we're paid to do. So that's part and parcel of what we're to be about. I wanted to say also that there are no tax increases or no rate increases in this budget.
That's good news.
That's good news and something to always share with the public. Right. And so that's another note that I made. A couple of things in particular in the budget that, again, I think are of interest to the folks watching would be related to the street improvement program. And I guess we're in almost our 18th year of doing the street paving on an in-house basis, having not just an in-house program, but also we have a computer-based model that we use where all of the streets are inventoried and placed into this computer system that Ron Green, our Assistant City Manager, Public Works Director, has responsibility for. And each year, as we present the regular capital improvements program to you, we always present a street improvement program to you. I didn't bring that with me today, but we have paved a lot of roads in the 18 years of having that program, and we have done so more cost effectively because we do it in-house. So the direct costs that we spend are strictly to buy the asphalt.
Right.
And then we have the paving machine and the crew, the internal city crews that do the work. And as a matter of fact, they did not do this, but the road right out here in front of us has just over the last couple of months, very few weeks, received milling and paving. Was very much needed on Airport Road, Historic Nature Trail. Due to the milling, aspect of that work, we did contract it out. So this is one of the few. When we get into the larger secondary roads, we find that it's better to contract it out. So, but the point I'm trying to make is that two major secondary roads, the one out in front of us and then Cherokee Orchard Road, were both paved in the last few weeks. And I know the folks in this neck of the woods are very, very pleased about that and are enjoying that, I hope. To move into other capital projects.
Right. Speaking of other capital
projects, in the budget, I'm looking at the page in the budget of the different projects that were authorized in the special revenue CIP fund, and here's where the boring bureaucratic stuff comes in with these different, titles, but this is the fund that funds so many of the major capital projects. This fund has as its sources of revenue the restaurant tax, a portion of the gross receipts tax, and the amusement tax. And so these monies are set aside strictly for tourism-related capital projects. This is the fund from whence we have funded the undergroundings that have occurred in town, as a very significant example of the top capital projects that have been funded out of this fund. But this coming year, some new projects that have been funded are Mills Park Field House, the Minot Park Playground, and I know you want to say something about that. Some new playground equipment at Minot Park, replacement of Trout Raceway walls, replastering of the community center pool, and then year 2 of Winter Magic. There are a couple of other projects that got some additional funding, such as the library, in this budgetary process. So I want to talk about all those.
Well, I'm excited.
Because there's all kinds. I've got a whole list of all kinds of projects here that I know that we need to touch on.
Right.
So you take off with.
I want to speak just briefly about the Mills Park Field House.
Yes,
it's
sir.
something with the youth football program that they have been wanting and needing for a long time. And we did pass that this year to build a new field house. And this past week, we did a dedication of the new field house to name it and dedicate it after Buddy Parton and Mitch McCarter, who between the two of them have put in years and years of at least 30 or 40 years, literally? Yeah. Of just volunteer time and effort and coaching to such a great program. So I've got one of my children's in that program, so I just know how many of the parents and coaches and families are really excited about this. So that always makes you feel good. You do something you can actually physically see and see people that are just really thankful and happy that it's happening.
And to help the kids.
Yes.
That is so important and is so encouraging, I know, for you. And the city commission, as the vice mayor just noted, passed resolutions or presented resolutions in regards to Buddy Parton's years of service with the Gatlinburg Highlander Youth Athletic Association. I think
Very
I have
good.
said
That's what
that
it is,
title
yeah.
correctly.
You did.
And just has had great, Buddy and Mitch McCarter both have had great impact on thousands, I'm sure, of kids' lives. And that's
Literally,
just
yeah.
literally. And that's just a really great thing, and a great thing that you folks did, not just to fund it, but then to honor those folks, and particularly while they're still around, to enjoy that honor.
Exactly.
So often it doesn't happen that way. So I think it's great that you all have done that, and I know that they're very, very pleased and honored about that.
It's going to be good.
So that's one of the projects that in the scheme of things, it's a. Let me find it. It's less than $150,000 projects, but it's got such impact. I mean, I know that I'm not trying to say that's some tiny amount of money, because it isn't, but yet in the scheme of multi-million-dollar projects like this Mills Conference Center and undergrounding of utilities and those kind of things, but it has such great impact as it relates to the future of our community, which are these children.
And I'd just like to mention, too, while we're on this subject, that we have an opportunity to travel to a lot of the different communities, a lot of the different schools and things like that, and how, as parents and citizens of this community, realize what great facilities we have. It's just unbelievable, the comparison. So we are, very grateful to have what people have worked for years to make happen. So
Absolutely.
it's pretty neat.
We're a town of 3,500. We'll round the number up or down, whichever way it may be, that has these 3 wonderful city parks and facilities, and surrounded by the greatest park of them all, the Great Smoky Mountains National Park. So we're really very, very blessed to have these things.
Absolutely.
Let me, if I could, just kind of jump off
Sure.
and give an update on several different projects. I'm looking at Kevin to see if he's going to let me do that, and he nodded his head and said that I could. These are projects that are virtually done, but I think, again, are just to give some quick status reports for folks watching. The golf course capital projects that are being funded by revenues from the course. As of last evening, you all took the action to complete increasing revenues by increasing membership dues. So I said there weren't any tax or rate increases in the budget, and that maybe was a little misnomer in the regard of these golf course projects. But these monies, the increased revenues from both greens fees, which you did effective June 1st, and now these membership dues actually are not effective until the next calendar year. These monies are earmarked to service the debt that was issued to do the golf course capital projects, which was rounding numbers again, $500,000 on hole renovations. There were 6 or 7 holes that were renovated. That was $500,000, and then $1.2 million on a brand spanking new, beautiful clubhouse that is complete, and hopefully we're moving in today, and if not in the very soon, in the next few hours, we're in the process of moving into the new clubhouse, and we'll be having a grand opening event that we'll want all the public to come to that can come. It is a beautiful facility.
I think it's important, too, to point out on the improvements made to the golf course. We brought in a specialist, Cup.
Yes, Bobby Cup.
Bobby Cup. And the improvements, a lot of them were made to help speed up play and to make it more of an enjoyable experience. So I think that's another big improvement.
Right. Which of course ultimately generates more money, which then adds even better enhances the payment of the debt for these capital projects. And I can't emphasize enough, because it was very important to you all that these projects be self-funding.
Exactly.
And that is how it is structured to be and planned to be. This time next year, I'm sure I'll be able to report that that is how it is. We're just in the early stages of the greens fees increases in particular, but so far they seem to be coming in at the projected levels. So I think these will definitely turn out to be the self-funded projects that you commissioners directed happen. The other thing I want to mention, going back to youth and the future of our community, is that in this resolution that was passed to increase the regular membership dues, we introduced a new category of youth membership. And this was actually at the request of golfing coaches throughout the county. And so this is a new category for any Sevier County school student while in school, and it's $300 for an annual membership. And again, the golfing coaches approached the city in regards to creating this to enable these golfing players to be able to play year round, and not just during the golfing program, because there is a lot of usage of our course by the high schools for the regular golfing program, but to make it more of a year round event.
Good move.
And happening.
Yep.
Glades Road improvements. This is something that I think I hope many people have noticed. If you live out there, you can't help but notice it. We just finished. We would be the street department.
Right.
Just finished doing a really nice improvement to Glades Road in the Moyers Drive area, and it is much safer.
Yes.
And I see Kevin again nodding his head. He travels that route a lot, and
big improvement.
Big
Huge.
improvement, and we've heard a lot about that. And again, that's an in-house project, and it just reflects the talent that we have in the city in general, and in particular in the street department. I also did a little extension of the sidewalk up in the Morning Mist area. We wanted to extend more, but we didn't have the right-of-way, the easements to do that, but we did extend that a little bit more. But the biggest improvement out there goes to this area that I've just talked about. And then you commissioners have authorized a couple of other widenings that will be occurring here later this year, more than likely after the first of the year. So there will be a couple of more areas that we will be out working on widening that we think will really be a great improvement
Make it a lot safer.
to the corridor. And this work comes out of the study that was done, I guess now 4 or 5 years ago, the Glades pedestrian, Glades traffic and pedestrian study. And so we had a committee that worked with us on that, and we appreciate that, because that really, it's not a study that we've set on the table or on the shelf, which I know happens a lot. And
Sometimes
I've had my fingerprints on more of those type studies than not, I guess. But I'm glad to say that this one, we have been able to have the money to fund these various areas of improvement, and I know you commissioners want us to continue right down, literally and figuratively, that path of improvements to the Glades corridor.
Absolutely.
So we will continue to be about that. Wanted to mention that the Saratoga Hillsides and Ridges study was presented in a joint city-county dinner meeting that actually we hosted here in this building, I guess now 2 or 3 weeks ago. And so everyone now is in receipt of the final version of that study. You all have directed that we hold a joint workshop meeting between City Commission and Planning Commission, and that will be held on November the 1st at 4:30 in the City Council room. And so there will be much more discussion and work going in regards to that very important study and topic and concern. Architectural design guidelines is another project that's been a long time coming, but you all authorized work to be done by Clemson University to develop a guideline document, which will probably be a poster pamphlet kind of document that can be used mainly by the planning department in utilizing these architectural guidelines that you all have endorsed. So hopefully after the first of the year, not hopefully, but after the first of the year, we will be meeting with commissioners and meeting with you all and showing you that work. and hopefully getting your blessings of that work and moving forth with actually getting a document developed that can truly be used in encouraging the design guidelines that are part of that architectural matrix that you all endorsed several months ago.
You know, like with a lot of these studies too, it definitely takes time and it works its way through, but it's exciting right now that a lot of people are interested in guidelines that developers can use and
Right.
embrace. And with the Saratoga study throughout the county,
Yes.
it's very important to all of us. So it's exciting to see these things actually becoming more of a reality, but
Right.
they do take time.
Right, they do take time, and sometimes we move in slow and mysterious ways. But I do think that we are focused. By that I mean I think the Gatlinburg city, the community is focused on doing everything we can to improve the quality of life for the resident and the visitor.
Definitely.
The visitor experience. So, and another way that we think we can improve the visitor experience is to come forth with what's called wayfinding, a new wayfinding system, which is basically area directional signs. And you all authorized an agreement with Roger Brooks Destination Developments, and I say that name because I think many folks have met Roger with his work within the Gatlinburg community as well as in the county, and he's considered kind of the tourism guru. But we are working with him on literally a new signage program.
I think this is so important. You know, how many times have you gone somewhere and the signage hasn't been that good, and it's just trying to figure out where, how do I get where I want to go? And I think for customer friendly and for us taking that initiative is very important, because I see people lost a lot. And it's just, you have to think there's got to be a better way. So I think we're making a good move here.
Okay. And we will be, our plan in time-wise in this regard is that we're going to take the opportunity of the November 1st workshop that I just mentioned on the Ridgetop study. Staff is going to take the opportunity to give a kind of a progress report and show you some ideas that we've already been looking at, and I had a meeting on them this morning, as a matter of fact. And then there would be a public presentation, and hopefully a lot of business people and citizens alike. But of course, this is more about the visitor experience, and therefore the getting the folks around through the business commercial district. So we hope that a lot of business folks would come, and that would be toward the end of November, and Roger Brooks himself would be coming back in to make that presentation. And for those of you who have seen him do any of these presentations, he's very entertaining on top of really knowing what he's talking about. So hopefully we'll get a lot of folks that will participate in that. And then if we're all in agreement with this proposal, then the next step would of course be funding the actual making, fabricating, and installing of the signs. And that may mean the next budget cycle, but still we're headed in that direction to where I think we can see some changes made in the next year or so.
Well, Roger's a sharp guy, so I can see there's going to be some really good improvements made.
And he's very and I keep referencing this building because our heart and soul sometimes feels like it's in it, doesn't it?
Right.
But he came in a couple of months ago, and we met in the boardroom, and it's his first time to be in this facility.
Oh, really?
And he was just totally impressed with the facility, and he's also very impressed with the undergrounding efforts downtown and the significant improvements that have been made downtown because of that. So he in his countywide assessment, he referred to Gatlinburg as the crown jewel of the Smokies.
Right.
And I think he sees more and more that's what we're truly trying to be heading toward, and already are in some regards, but really trying to be overall. Okay, next one is the library project, and of course we had a great report presented to us last night from the library. But the long and short of the library building project is that they finally got approval of a state grant that very candidly kind of bogged down the whole process for the last several weeks, if not months. But the approval has come forth, and then the library folks came forth to you all here in a recent workshop meeting in regards to some issues there that go along with the State Fire Marshal Office's review due to the state grant. And long story really short is that project is now moving toward being bid out, bids being received, and being able to come to City Commission, because the contract will be between the city and the contractor. And then the city will, as it does with the present library facility, have a lease agreement with the actual library board for the operation and maintenance of the library itself. So the contract will be between the city and whoever gets the bid, and the goal is to have a contract for you all to consider the last meeting of the calendar year, which is December 18. And then very shortly thereafter, the contractor would begin the project. As to an official groundbreaking, that's probably going to be shortly after the first of the year. But I think we're going to be seeing some shovels and dirt being turned here pretty soon on that project. And there are so many people that have worked so hard and so long on that I hesitate to start naming names.
Right.
But there are so many people that I know that folks are just really excited about moving forth with this. So
brand new, beautiful library for
yes,
Gallup.
right next to the community center.
Yeah.
To remind everyone that's the location of it, is next to the community center, which we think will just be a great enhancement to the whole complex, if you will.
I agree.
The community center, the high school, the community center, the library, the Boys and Girls Club, the auditorium.
A lot of synergy.
Exactly. A lot of great things going on there. And then I'm about to get toward the end here. And everybody sighs. Good. The next is to mention, and I have to mention this quickly because this is an emotional thing for me, but as you well know, we dedicated the handicap fishing ramp and pier to Bill Stevens. I guess that was, I think I noted down here, September the 7th.
Uh-huh.
And that was it was a very hot event, but it was a wonderful event. It's a wonderful facility at Herbert Holt Park, and encourage folks, if you haven't gone to see it, we have a really neat plaque down there
It's
with
really
Bill's face on it and words on it that could never really say everything that he meant to the community and to me personally. But it is a great facility, and encourage the folks to go check that out. And it's really a neat place just to go have some quiet time.
It really is. And I think it was mentioned that day, but I've been told, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but I think it's one of the only handicap fishing ramps or facilities that's on a fast water stream.
And that's exactly what we have said. And
we're going to stick to that.
We're going to stick to it until such time as someone, and I think the key is a fast water stream.
Yeah.
Until such time as someone might
raise their head and tell us we're wrong.
Right.
What an impressive ramp.
Yeah.
And I mean,
Yeah.
it is just really neat. And
he would absolutely, as Barbara said down there that day, he would absolutely love it.
Yeah.
So
and for
it's,
handicap and for the youth, it's a youth fishing area.
Yes.
And it just makes it so much better, safer, everything.
Exactly.
So it was a good thing, and Bill wanted that for a long time.
Yes,
and,
he did.
It's another
He did.
reality. So
Absolutely.
That's awesome.
So I'm going to move now to talk very quickly about the second year of Winter Magic. This is something I think I mentioned a few minutes ago that's got some additional funding in this year's budget. Actually, the whole program got funded in this year's budget. This is the portion that came out of Special Revenue CIP Fund, and then the other portion came out of the regular tourism budget. And so year two is somewhere in the neighborhood of another, basically it's a $1.5 million 3-year program. And it's not exactly $500,000 every year, it's, varies.
Right.
But this coming year, all of the pole decorations on Parkway. Now, not all of the pole decorations, but all of the Parkway pole decorations, of which that's a big number, are being retrofitted to LED lights.
That's great.
All of the branches and the scrolls, and so that's a huge part of this year 2 effort. Then we are adding the trees that we started in the first year program.
Right.
And this is a phase out of the chandeliers that were in the initial stages of the programs.
That are on their last leg.
Well, not only that, but because of the undergrounding,
That's true.
then it doesn't work. We had to come up with a new design, and that new design being the trees that are mounted on the green poles. And so this will add trees in the last phase of undergrounding that's being completed since last year's winter program.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
And then there is another piece of what's being purchased and installed this year will be like a wildlife exhibit that has huge animals in it. Ranging from bears to squirrels to I'm not exactly sure what else in it, but anyway, it's a wildlife-like exhibit. So that's but the main thrust of this too is, of course, going to LED lights.
And how much savings that is to the city.
Yes, sir. And it's a tremendous savings electricity-wise, but it's also the going to the green and being about better environmental situations.
Exactly.
So, and they last longer, and they're cheaper to have turned on, and
they look great.
And they look great.
I really
So they're expensive. You know, you pay for it on the front end, but in the long run, it's well worth it. So, be looking for that. The actual cook-off.
Chili cook-off. Kick-off to
Winterfest is going to be here before we know it. I think, is it November 7th?
7th,
yeah.
Wednesday.
And so you'll be able to see all this stuff